A season like no other! Falkirk have went through the whole league campaign and not lost once! Unbelievable! Phenomenal! Incredible! Invincible!
This is Falkirk Daft.
With Behind the Wall.
Into the box, it's Adams! And McKeever scores! Hageman lets it run, might have a chance of a shot. It's Hageman! Oh, what a goal from Alfredo Hageman!
Still alive, Dylan Tate tries to bend one,
And it's a wonderful goal! Orfield! Oh, he's back! The king is back! Scott Orfield! On his Falkirk return!
Strike one, which means we've got 2 more hits at this championship, although that was a very, very hard one to take on Saturday. This episode is going to be very emotional. If you don't like bad language, I would probably say turn off just about now because it's going to get serious. It was a hard one to take at the weekend, but we're here to do it. We're here together. Let's get a group. Let's sit down, get the chairs in the middle of the church hall, and let's talk about it. And we're going to do that with Josh Heggie. This is Falkirk Daft. Hello, I'm John McAnally, and as I say, the aforementioned Josh Heggie is with me today in the absence of the Ginger God of Pod, who is still in Florida at a cheerleading competition. Now, I have to check, Josh. I think the girls, we'll try and talk as little about football as possible on this show, Josh. Let's talk about anything. You'll see if you're watching the YouTube version. I've just put up Cody Rhodes versus John Cena as the main event of WrestleMania tonight because I'm now a wrestling guy. I'm not a football guy anymore. But I do believe Ross's the cheerleading squad did very well, and I'm just checking Ross's Facebook because he puts everything on Facebook. That boy. So let's see. What did they? I can't find the profile, Josh. You don't know anything about cheerleading competitions in Florida, do you?
I'm not up to date with it, but I have to say, I wish I'd been watching anything else other than that game on the end of that game on Saturday.
Josh, you weren't even meant to be at the game on Saturday, were you?
No, so I was meant to be on holiday, snowboarding in the French Alps.
Oh, check you snowboarding in the French Alps! Woo!
Yeah, so that actually got cancelled last minute. The day I was meant to go out because there was an avalanche, so all the roads up to the slopes were shut. And I thought, yeah, beauty. At least if I'm going to miss the holiday, I'll get to see a Bairns performance. And unfortunately, I was denied that as well. So it's not been a great weekend in the Heggie household either.
Oh, mate, that's a nightmare. Right, okay, right. I've got the update on the cheerleading competition from Ross's Facebook. Just an update on yesterday. Now that we've all recovered, the girls are amazing. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough, and I didn't get past to day 2 of the competition. Oh, everyone's so proud of them, and their amazing coaches, Vicky and Charlotte. They hit 0 on that World 4, but the division was so tough. That must be cheerleading chat. Massive disappointment for us all yesterday, but particularly the girls. However, they partied hard by the pool last night with their coaches and ended the day on a massive high. So, like Falkirk, they didn't quite manage to get there either. So, that's a shame. But it does look. I'm just scrolling. I'm now just doing that Facebook stalking thing on Ross's Facebook. I have messaged him back and forth, obviously, about Falkirk chat. But he was at Universal Studios yesterday. He's one of these guys on Facebook that tells you everything that happened in the day. Do you want to hear what happened on day 9 of the holiday?
Let's go. Let's see his diary update.
Another hot one, but we smashed the day at Universal Studios after a belter of a breakfast at Denny's. Brilliant to finish the day at light water and fireworks show with Anne Ryan, Scott Ryan and Billy Ryan, and we snuck in a cheeky late ride on Spider-Man 2. Disney Springs and Magic Kingdom today, but far more important matters first as it's the Falkirk game on FTV this morning. As we take another step closer to clinching the championship title, let's see what happens next. And then there's a picture of Ross with a pint and Falkirk TV on an iPad with his Falkirk Daft bucket hat. And then we go to the next picture. Well, that's cheered me up after the football. And he went to Universal Studios and then Magic Kingdom for the fireworks show. So there we go. That is the weekend that Ross has had over in Florida, watching the Falk game and listening to your dulcet tones on FTV, Josh.
Well, at least they had the Universal to cheer him up after the game because none of us had that luxury. We just had to sit and think about it.
That, yeah, you know, they go on the Velociraptor coaster or go into Hogwarts or something like that. That would keep you, put a smile back on your face. Certainly after that weekend. I myself, honestly, I'm taking after Ross now. I was in hospitality the weekend. I was got. Thank you, kindly invited along by Scott Henderson from Crunchy Carrots. Thank you very much for the invite, sir. In the company, a great group of guys: Scott, Blair, Stevie from Galaxy Sports. And the one and only Mr. Sam McGivern was there as well. And I was sat next to Sammy, who actually wants... The chat got on. Sammy is quite disappointed that Billy Gilmore and Ray Montgomery have a plaque in the Three Tunes down in Ayrshire, but Sammy doesn't. So we're starting a GoFundMe campaign for Sammy to get a plaque down in the Three Tunes for Sam McGivern. So we're going to get that sorted for him. I was like, I had to say to him, Sam, but you've got your name's on the back of the stand. You're part of the stadium now. But he's not happy that Billy Gilmore's got a plaque down there. It's like, what's he ever done? You know, he played for... He's got one cap for Scotland. He's got one goal for Scotland. One goal. That's it. I think he's got two now, actually. So yes, that was the chat from Sam yesterday. But no, it was a good day. Apart from the result, and everyone up to behind the wall afterwards. Now, there's been a bit of controversy, Josh. And I don't know if you've heard this as well as about the Player of the Year nights last night.
I have heard this just through rumblings on social media. So.
Quite disappointing, right? I know it was a shit result, and we'll talk about the game in just a bit if we have to. But it was meant to be the Player of the Years. Elliott, Roma Bar, I think Cheers, Behind the Wall, all had their Player of the Year nights on, and obviously it's the usual plather of the players will turn up, get their awards, pictures, and then move on to the next one. Obviously, we were hoping the result would have went a better way, but quite disappointing that they called off, and now I don't know if it was a decision by the manager, I don't know if it was a decision by the players themselves, but no one turned up at the Player of the Years, which I think's not a great look. Now, it was a terrible result yesterday, we all agree on that. I can understand the disappointment, but it's a bit shite baggery. You know, they're not going to get any abuse from the supporters because we've done amazing this season. You know, yesterday or Saturday was just a bit of a blip, but I think that's pretty poor, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. Obviously, the fans they've supported the club all season, and it would have been nice to get the players along. I do understand. I can see it for both sides. I can see the manager saying to his players, "Look, it's a bad result today. We've got a really important job for the next 2 games. I need you mentally to prepare, go and rest up because we'll be back in. It's a 6-day week this week with a Friday night." I can understand why you'd maybe want them to sharpen up, but at the same time, the supporters are missing out. You know, they pay their money for these events. They probably should have had some sort of
even if they turned up for 5 minutes, picked up the trophies, just a few of them, got the pictures of the kids and everyone that was there. I think I don't think it's a great look, to be honest with you. But you know, in all accounts, they were. I've heard they were in training today. If that rumour is true, so they were in training today as well. So obviously Mr. McGlynn wasn't happy about Saturday as well. But I hope something can get rearranged and like they can make amends for it, whether it is through like a big joint event or something. Because like these guys, you know, the Roman Bar supporters bus, Elliott supporters bus, all the guys that they put an awful lot of work and effort into putting these things together. You know, it's just a bit of a letdown at the end of the day. So hopefully, you know, the club, the players, management can get something together for the guys, and you know, because I think it's a bit poor, to be honest with you. But there you go.
Yeah, I did see a few people online saying why don't they leave the Player of the Year awards till after the season's finished? And to be honest, I don't understand why it's with a few games left in the season, because there you go. The goal of the season awards were out, and then Sean Mackey scores a World Day, and then it has to get added in.
Yeah.
So I think going forward, maybe if I know it's almost a tradition that it's the last few weeks of the season, but if we had it at the end of the season, then there's no debate about who turns up and who doesn't. And
when things are still to be decided. The problem is obviously the players' last game of the season, that's them on their holidays straight after the last game of the season. That's the only issue with that. But yeah, I 100% agree with that, because like you say, goal of the season form, you know, if Calvin Miller goes on and scores 3 hat-tricks between now and the end of the season to win us the league, he maybe gets a shout at Player of the Year as well. But I do 100% agree with you on that, but I know it's pretty poor. I thought it was pretty poor, but hopefully, like I say, there can be amends made for that. Before we get into this week's show, got to say thank you very much to this week's episode sponsors, and that is, of course, Rumour Architecture. They're back again. Ryan, I've not seen Ryan this weekend, but he is a chartered and accredited architect, one of only 3 in the town at the moment, and he's a Bairns supporter through and through. And what do we always say, Josh? Keep it in the Falkirk family. He's already on the go for 5 years, and they've got projects across Scotland. If you are looking for an extension, residential work, or commercial and hospitality projects that you maybe have, speak to Ryan. He'll sort you out. He's also happy to do a 4th stand at the TFS, design that if the club needs that potentially in the future. So get involved with Rumour Architecture if you're looking for a job. Like I say, if you're looking at an extension, Ryan's a man to speak to. Get more info on Rumour Architecture, rmar.co.uk, and they are sponsoring episode 126, which I can't believe, of Falkirk Daft this week. So there you go. Let's get into the news, but before we do that, let's talk about Birthday Corner. And it is a happy birthday. And now Joe, or my friend Joe, messaged me and said, my brother probably won't bother sending one in, so I'm sending one in myself. So happy birthday, Joe. She is turning, I won't reveal her age, but on the 25th of April, this Friday, the day of the Partick Thistle game, it's her birthday, and she shares it with 2 Falkirk musical legends, Josh. Andy Bell of course, Erasure, little respect, and Tony Christie, who also his birthday is on Friday as well. Listen, all this, the lights are shining on Friday. These have got to be good signs that it's Tony Christie and Andy Bell's birthday.
Got to be a lucky omen, that.
Got to be. But Joe is also looking for a ticket for the Thistle game, so if anyone comes across them, that would be great. And Bairns that she shares her birthday with are Alan Kernigan. You're too young maybe for Kernigan, are you?
No,
he was a
don't know.
Brilliant. He played for Clyde for years, and then he came for us like in his swan song, and he was outstanding. Big diags all over the place. But Alan Kernigan and Aidan Keena, whose birthday is on Friday as well. A striker that had so much potential and then just didn't really kick on at us.
Yeah, just didn't. I don't think he got a good run of games. He was kind of in and out the side of injury and form, and don't think the players around suited his game either. So just an unfortunate signing that didn't quite work. But he kicked on to great things after he left.
We did. Also, happy birthday to Stevie Thompson. So Stevie in the behind the wall on Saturday night. Actually, I went to school with Stevie and he reached out saying, "Could you give me a birthday shout out for the 22nd of April?" He'll be 45, ages with me, and he went. It was in the same year of school as me, and there was no Falkirk birthdays on that day that Stevie was born. So 22nd of April, no one that's played for the club has ever been born on the 22nd of April. So there you go. Birthday corner for our week. If you want to get your birthday shouts out, or just generally a shout out if you're getting married, anything like that, we're happy to do it here on Falkirk Daft. Just drop us a DM, or you can message John or Ross at falkirkdaft.co.uk. Right, club news then. John McGuinn was named Scottish Football Supporters Association Manager of the Year for 24-25. Again, you go back to the awards. I mean, I'm guessing who else is in contention for that, Josh? At the moment, I'm guessing David Gray.
Probably David Gray. You could argue, but Brendan Rodgers is always in the shout with these ones. There was talk of the Inverness manager.
Okay.
Them
Is it Kernigan? I
think so.
He's done an excellent job, and you know what, he's had to deal with it in Inverness, I have to say. Jim Goodwin, I guess, could be a contender as well. But I mean, if John McGuinn manages to get back-to-back promotions, I think he's the obvious choice for that. And I'm sure come PFA awards and what have you, it'll be a bit more certain by that time what the lay of the land will be in that situation. But yeah, well done to John and the rest of the management team on that award. As you mentioned before, it was a recognition night down in Shire on Tuesday. You were there, Josh. I was there as well. It was a great night. Just in case you missed the awards, it was, first of all, was the Academy Graduate Awards, which Kyle McCrone and Flynn McCafferty picked up. Then Juniors Bairns Player of the Year, Big Hendo. The FSS Player of the Year, Big Hendo. The Players Player of the Year, Big Hendo. And the Player of the Year, as chosen by the manager, the teacher's pet is what it was, of course, Brad Spencer. So well done to all the award winners there. I bumped into Brad and I was like, there you go, mate. The John McGuinn Award for being the teacher's pet. But no, it was a good night down there. And goal of the season as well. Got to mention that. Sean Mackey added at the last minute and picked it up, Josh.
Yeah, I think the excitement, the buzz around it, such a sweet strike that it probably is deserved. But absolutely, Hendo deserved all these awards, and Brad Spencer, I think it's the appreciation for all the dirty work that he has to do, on the underappreciated work he does in the middle of the park that as a fan you don't necessarily see. But John McGlynn will be like, that's your job to go and break up the play, and he's done it so well. So I can understand him getting the manager's player of the year.
Absolutely. Calvin Miller probably a bit unlucky to not pick up anything on the night as well. But and a couple of really good, I love to see these awards going out. Outstanding contribution to the one, the only Stevie Jackson. If you'll know Stevie, if you're a Falkirk supporter, you'll know Stevie. Currently louding it about the hospitality, gives his patter. He's on the hospitality suite duty. So yeah, Stevie Jackson, absolutely outstanding to see him getting awards. So that was an outstanding contribution award. Special recognition, Laura Craig, who's worked in the shop and worked behind the scenes for years and years and years and years. God, I don't remember a time that Laura wasn't working in the backroom staff. And Dave Mack, the one and only Dave Mack, stadium announcer extraordinaire, picking up a special recognition award, and absolutely completely speechless after he got it. He didn't know quite what to say after he got it, because it was a surprise to him who he was hosting on the night. So well done, Dave and Laura. And of course, Lifetime Achievement Award for the one and only Ian Snedden. You'll see Ian snaps all over. He's always there. He's always there at the club, taking pictures. He does the youth teams, does the women's teams, the first team, of course, hospitality. He's all over it. So well done to Ian as well on his Lifetime Achievement Award at Falkirk as well. So that was great as well. Couple other bits. Josh, there was a stat put out of attendances. Amazing to see that, I don't think this will include Saturday, obviously, but 108,000 Falkirk supporters, home fans in the stadium across the year. Unbelievable stuff. Yeah,
the stat that I liked the most was 50% of our matches were home sellouts.
Yeah.
So that's a brilliant stat. Okay, we knew we'd get a slight bump moving up to the championship, but to be selling out and being able to open up half the north stand for home fans, it just shows how much we're growing as a club and how much there's that community buy-in.
Yeah, there's a real appetite for it in the community at the moment, and you see people now like on social media trying to reach out for tickets. Especially we'll talk about the Thistle situation in a minute, but like everyone's like, "Can you get me a ticket? I can't get a ticket for Thistle. Left it too late. Has anyone got a ticket?" So there's that absolute appetite for Falkirk at the moment, and obviously that comes with the success which is happening on the park. But it's probably crowds that we haven't budgeted for this season, so it all helps and goes into the coffers for next season and budget it. And when you look at the Premiership teams, I mean, that is bound to be more than Kilmarnock, St Mirren, Motherwell, Ross County and St Johnstone. And the only teams that are beating you probably on those home crowds are when you look to the big city clubs, I reckon.
Yeah, I think obviously your Old Firm, your Edinburgh clubs and probably your Dundees, but might be able to top that just because they're bigger cities. But Falkirk are more than capable of holding their own in terms of the crowd numbers, and certainly there's been games this season where Falkirk have had the biggest crowd on the match day. So there's no reason why that can't continue to grow up in the Premiership.
I know that, I'm fed up of talking about fourth stands and whatever, but when it gets to the point, if we keep growing the way we have been and the community keeps buying into the club, there really will be a big argument, and it's finding the way to fund that fourth stand, because as I keep saying, you build something similar to Ayers and you have that hospitality, you immediately take the hospitality back into the club as well, and make more money out of that. So it just take or have a hotel built into it, use it not just as a stand but have that second facility and use for it as well. There's bound to be some investor or some construction company out there that maybe sees the dollar signs and that, and because it's right, obviously it's right next to the Kelpies, come on. it's a shoe in for the tourists. You know, might build a nice wee hotel. They can walk over to the Kelpies, wonderful walks through Helix Park, and it stops us seeing the vistas of Grangemouth from the main stand as well. So, it'd be great, like you say, but brilliant attendances throughout the season. So that's great. Championship Team of the Year, Josh. Congratulations, Brad Spencer, Liam Henderson, Calvin Miller, and Keelan Adams for making it into that team. Is there anyone else that should have got in there? We threw it out. I think the only one I think it would probably be a shout in was Nicky in the goals.
Yeah, I think that's the only major player that's missed out. I think he's been unlucky, but if anything, it's a testament to our defence this season. And I think the league have maybe recognised that our defence has been really solid and Hogarth's maybe not had as much to do. I think that over the past 2 months of the season, Nicky's made some crucial saves. So I think he's maybe had slightly a bigger impact than prior. But, you know, both two good goalkeepers that have, you know, kept a lot of clean sheets this year. But I'm really delighted for the boys that made it, especially young Keelan. You know, it's his first season in senior football when he's managed to get the best right back in the division. So, you know, chuff for him, and Miller, Spencer and Hendo all worthy of that accolade.
You said young Keelan like you're an old man there, Josh. Yeah, about 5 minutes ago you didn't even know who Alan Kernigan was, so you can't call anyone young because you're just a whippersnapper yourself. It was Jerome Pryor who got in the sticks for it, but like you say, again, I was having a conversation about Nicky yesterday, and a lot of people say, is he all right for Jinky? He'll be good for the Premiership. And I genuinely do. I can't recall when we talk about the goals yesterday, but I can't recall Nicky being at any major fault for any goal we've conceded this season.
Well, the goals that we'll talk about the goals later, but last year there was a few fumbles last season.
Yeah.
But again, that as a fan base would generally put that down to him being out the team, coming back in, and needs a few games to kind of warm up to it.
Yeah.
I can't recall a major error that's led to a goal this season from Nicky at all. And one thing especially that's improved this year is his distribution.
The next thing that needs to improve is commanding of the box, I think, and just especially the 6-yard area, which we'll talk about in a bit. So Jerome Pryor was in the goals, Keelan Adams, as we say. Ryan McGowan, I don't think it was a toss-up between Ryan McGowan and Danny Wilson to go in beside Hendo, but I think McGowan has been outstanding for Livingston, I have to say. Scott, the one question I had over the position on this championship team was the left back area, because I don't think we've had Sean Mackey would get in it. Leon McCann's been hardly in the team this season. So Scott McMahon got it for Ayr. Anybody other contenders? We talked about Mason Hancock last week. Again,
I don't think he played enough games. And a team that's kind of struggling in the playoff places, but was the relegation zone. You've got to argue if a defender's from that team's in the team of the year, like, you're really struggling. I think McMahon, he's played some left back, he's played some centre half. He's a good player. Yeah, I think Ayr United are a better side when he plays. So completely understand that decision.
I'm shocked to end up at Ayr. I really think from Dundee United, I thought he would have ended up at a kind of lower end Premiership team, but he must be on decent cash there. But he's a very good footballer. Jamie Brandon from Livingston was in the midfield. Now I'm surprised. I thought Scott Pittman might have got the nod ahead of Jamie Brandon, but Jamie Brandon has actually been quite impressive whenever I've seen him.
Yeah, in recent weeks, Pittman's kind of fallen out of the team as well. So I know he was on the bench against us. There's been a few games that he's maybe not started and come off the bench. But Brandon's been, kind of one of the first names in the team sheet, captain's armband at times. And I think he's filled in at right back. He's played centre mid, and he's always been pretty decent.
Yeah, no, Brad Spencer, of course, obviously. Ben Dempsey, instead of Jay Henderson, I thought was an interesting one.
No, I can see Ben Dempsey and the qualities he has. I think Henderson had a really good flurry, maybe between like October and January, where he was getting goals and assists left, right, and centre. But things kind of dried up recently, and he's maybe not had as big an impact. But I think Dempsey as a whole over the season has brought that bit that bit quality in the middle of the park for Ayr.
Moving into the forwards then, Calvin Miller, we said it was an absolute shoe-in. It was again excellent yesterday. Robbie Muirhead was the surprising one, and I think George Oakley, I don't think is as surprising. Might have argued over Brian Graham getting in as the kind of 9, but I think George Oakley over the course he's a nuisance. He's scored plenty of goals for Ayr, and as a team player that when you look at that, he's as a player you'd like to have had on your side for Falkirk. When we talked about the lack of goals from strikers in the team this season, Robbie Muirhead again a good player, but again. There's a man on the park yesterday that I was surprised didn't make it, and that was Dylan Easton. But then I remember that the players voted for this particular award, and then I remember that Dylan Easton is a wee fanny. So that's probably why he didn't get into the team, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think obviously everyone was expecting him to be in the team. I don't know if maybe, Raith's dreadful form at the start of the season's been on players' minds when they've been voting. I know Robbie Muirhead's produced big moments out of nothing this season, and for a large chunk of the season, especially at the start, he was basically carrying Livingston to some big results. He scored some big goals. That free kick he scored against United as well, pivotal moment in the season.
Yeah.
So that's maybe gone in his favour.
Yeah. True that. So I don't think there's much arguments you can have when you look at the team. It's from a Falkirk perspective. Like I say, the only one I could see was probably the goalie. But we threw that out there just saying if there was anybody else that should have made it. Will says if the Livy goalie is in, that's probably a testament to our defence, as you were saying, stopping Nicky dealing with shots, even though he's been superb when called upon. I'd say Richard Pryor, I think it's Jerome Pryor, but he's went for Richard Pryor, the former 80s actor and comedian, had more work to do, so I'll take that as a compliment. Stacey says Nicky currently has 3 more clean sheets and 10 more saves than Pryor. Interesting. Nicky is top on clean sheets and second on saves behind Ferry. Graham says Hogarth has improved massively but isn't yet among the top keepers in the division. Mackie unlucky to miss out. I wonder if he's saying that now. Phil says Nicky and Gary, and Carol says Sean Mackie and Ethan Ross probably stick out for me as well. I think Ethan, I think Ethan, and we'll talk about it, starts at 100 mile per hour and he just kind of blows himself up as the game progresses, so I think that's probably why Ethan hasn't made the team, because I do feel that Ethan goes whoosh and then it's like, I'm done. But
yeah, I think Ethan is he's quite, well, as a Falkirk fan, I'm not going to say he's predictable because he's not, and he can produce really unpredictable moments, but I think he takes defenders by shock at A, how quick he is, and B, how direct he is, because he just gets the ball and he wants to go straight away.
Yeah.
And I think once a team settles into the game, we can start to manage Ethan a bit better. They can start to double over and send another extra midfield player onto him. And basically, he gets a lot of sore ones very early on in matches. That's something I've noticed, that defenders come clattering in and they start to slow him down by leaving one. He got one really early on Saturday, and I think the player got booked for it. But after that, well, if you got a massive kick on your knee, like heavy on, it's going to slow you down a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's much argument on the championship team of the season. And as well, just a little bit of club news. Crunchy Carrots signed on. It got announced at the recognition night the other night and was made official on Friday with a fantastic video showing the prowess of Scott Henderson's acting skills and Scott Arfield's acting skills. The Oscars nominations are on the way, gentlemen. But great to see that Crunchy Carrots, they've been like a lucky mascot. And Scott Henderson says, we've been the third best signing after the management team, Jamie Swinney, and then Crunchy Carrots, because they brought a lot of luck the last few seasons that they've been on the front of the shirt, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been some historic seasons with them as the front of the shirt sponsor. Also, it was really nice that Jamie, he said on a Tuesday night that when they signed on, we'd come off our worst ever season.
Yeah.
And they backed us at our lowest, and now we get to pay them back as well when we'll be at potentially our highest in years.
And as I said to Scott, I was like, you have lucked out here, because seeing years to come when the retro tops are getting announced, I don't think you'll be kicking off like Spall Match Winner did when they have Crunchy Carrots emblazoned on the front of it. When we get the inevitable invincible retro tops revealed in 20 odd years down the line when we're old men, or I'll be very old and you'll be slightly older, Josh. But so no, it's good to have Crunchy Carrots back on the front of the tops for next season as well. So great. Hopefully we're seeing them in the Premiership. Thanks. Before we get into the game, too, of course, behind the wall, I was in there partaking in a few Guinnesses last night. I was absolutely rammed in there last night. I believe Graham Stewart, former commercial manager Graham Stewart, was having a party upstairs, so everyone was rammed into the front bar, and it was a cracking night in there. Stayed for a few, but it was that way, after a result like that, it would be a huge night had we won, but it's like I just wanted to get down the road. I just wanted to get out there and get away with my own thoughts last night. I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning. I could not get back to sleep thinking about Saturday's game and what's to come. It's keeping me up at night, Josh. I honestly, I can't handle it. I just can't handle it. So, but no, great night at Behind the Wall. That's enough about my breakdown. But Behind the Wall, get there, stay local, eat and drink global, of course. Falkirk Daft Venom, get in there with your 50-50 match day tickets, get £1 off that. And rumours, there's some serious rumours doing the rounds. I spoke to Brian Flynn yesterday as well. Something exciting might be happening if we go up to the Premiership. I'll keep you posted on that. But in the meantime, whisky tasting happening on the 25th, which is the Friday night in the Thistle game. So if you're not going to Thistle or couldn't get a ticket, head along there because you can drink whisky instead and watch the game on the telly probably. Parliamo are in there. We've talked to Parliamo all the time there on the Saturday night. So hopefully if we have won the league by that point, we can all go along and party and watch Parliamo there. Vida's single launch is that happened last night. And then, that's happening tonight actually, so there's no point in telling you about that. Hugh and Cryer in there. Hoolie with Holly is happening. I don't know what that is. It sounds like a right good laugh. So that's happening on the 3rd of May. And the Honky Tonk Stomp. This sounds right up your street, Josh. Country rock and American covers by Hobo and the Moonshiners and the Fallen Hearts. So get yourself along, get your cowboy hat on, Josh. I know you own one. I know you have a set of cowboy boots. I know you're going to get down Behind the Wall. You're going to do the bit of line dancing. You'll be getting involved with that, the honky tonk hold down there. So yeah, get involved with that. And that is happening at Behind the Wall on 17th of May, the Honky Tonk Stomp. Brilliant stuff. So thanks to Behind the Wall. Get all the events and all the details behindthewall.co.uk. I've put it off long enough though, Josh. We've got, I guess, do we have to talk about the game? I guess we're going to have to do that. And we're going to do it in the company of our guest pundit this week. You'll have seen her pictures all over social media. You've seen her pictures on the club website. It is the one, the only, it is Miss Ruby Adam.
Hello.
Hiya, Ruby. How are you?
Oh, I've had better Sundays.
Having an existential crisis like I am, or, you're on the verge of breakdown, or how are you doing? Like I said at the start of the podcast, Josh, this is group therapy today. We've got we're in the church hall, we've got the chairs out, and it's the three of us. We're just going to have a group therapy session where everyone either watches or listens wherever you get your podcast. Ruby, are you okay?
Oh, no.
Lots of Holly Willoughby.
I shed my first tears at the football yesterday. That was the first time I've cried at the side of the pitch.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I know.
Well, I would just say to Josh, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning this morning. I couldn't get back to sleep because all I could think about was the game and what's to come in the next couple of weeks. I can't handle it. I honestly can't handle it. Before we talk about it though, let's find out your background, Ruby. Now, Ruby is the daughter of one of our directors, Mr. Stuart Adam. So it's pretty obviously you were indoctrinated into Falkirk at a very young age, Ruby.
Yeah, definitely. I was registered as a junior Bairn before my birth certificate was registered.
Brilliant.
Or so my dad tells me. So yeah.
I truly believe your dad in that, actually. Truly believe that. So what's your first memory of going to Brockville then?
Oof, Brockville, I don't remember myself.
Do you know you because you would have been born just before we left, or?
Well, yeah, I was born in 2000, so my dad tells me a story about rolling down the terrace and head first when he forgot that he was responsible for me at a game.
Also sounds like your dad.
But I don't remember it myself. My first memory is probably at the Falkirk Stadium when I was the mascot in 2008.
Wow. You remember the game?
It was against Kilmarnock, I think.
Right.
But I was too cold and I made my mum take me home at half time. So.
Oh, there you go. Aye, well, of course, we've had your brother on the podcast before as well. Well, it runs in the family, so we've got Will in the ultras, got Ruby taking the pictures, and we've got your dad enjoying himself in the boardroom every Saturday. So, I do love how, obviously you, like I say, indoctrinated into Falkirk at a very young age, Ruby. So, we've been asking all season the question, though, who is the most disappointing player you've seen in a Falkirk jersey?
I have spent weeks thinking about this and I can't give you an answer because
Oh, shite bag, Ruby.
I know, but I mean, my interest definitely dipped as a teenager, and in the last couple of years, that's when I think I've got the most knowledge to give you an answer. But there's nobody recently that deserves it, so I can't give you one. My dad's given me a few answers, but
Yes.
so it wouldn't be authentic of me to say.
Fine, fine. Go, do you remember off the top of your head your dad's answers? Because I'm sure he's got a list.
He gave me too many, honestly.
Aye, I bet he did. We'll get Stuart and I'll message Stuart after to find out who was on the list. But yeah, thanks for joining us on the podcast, Ruby. Every time I see your name, I just want to sing the Kaiser Chief song, but I'm sure you get that all the time.
Every day.
Every single day, absolutely. So we won't bore you with that banter. Let's talk about the game. Unchanged from air. Josh, surprised at that? Or was there anyone you would have changed on that side that started on Saturday?
I am not surprised. I personally would have had Barney or Ross McKeever playing over Gary Oliver. I think against Raith Rovers this season, we've struggled. We knew they were going to play the back three, and I just thought it would be very difficult with Gary up front on his own to be able to link the play.
Because when he's dragging out, he drags out one, and there's still two left.
Correct.
Yes, when you look at that, so maybe going up more direct against the three might have been an option actually. Any changes for you, Ruby, or are you quite happy with it?
I was quite happy with it. I like to see Gary Oliver start because was it usually
We win. Well, he's unbeaten until Saturday. He was unbeaten. So Jesus Christ, poor Gary's lost his record now as well. Gutted about that.
So I was quite excited to see the team that came out, but opinion changed at the end of the game.
It certainly did. But the thing is, Josh, we came out and we started like we have done. We were flying, and as I said, Ethan Ross just in that first 20, 25 minutes, half an hour, Ethan Ross flying, beating men, getting to bylines, cutting back, and he just seemed right in the mood for it as he always did. And actually, I thought we started the game really, really well.
No, we started off games how we normally do, 100 miles an hour. We had our first chance after, I believe it was like 32 seconds. I think we'd had two shots on goal or a cross blocked and a set piece. So it was, the perfect start from Falkirk, putting Raith on the back foot straight away. And I'd say even well after the first goal, Raith Rovers were really struggling to get any time on the ball for the entire first half. So, yeah.
There were a couple of chances before we actually got the goal. Scott Arfield probably, actually, I think it was Dylan Tate's, that lovely little slip ball that he put inside for him, and it just probably the angle wasn't great for him, but you actually, with the class that Scott Arfield has, you actually thought he might have scored from that. But after that, we didn't have to wait long for the goal, and again, Ethan Ross involved, just skipping in from that left-hand side as he does across the pitch, evading tackles, and then just feeding it into Calvin Miller, who did Calvin Miller things, i.e. cut in and shoot on his left foot. It's completely standard Calvin Miller goal, Josh.
Yeah, it's trademark Calvin Miller, which is just getting free for his man. He sets himself and he opted for placement. We spoke, he had a chance the week before and he went for power, on the good Astro pitch that's not got any bobbles. He could just pick his spot and low and hard controlled past the goalkeeper who didn't have much chance at it.
1-0 Ruby. At that point, I'm thinking, come on, folk, let's go and just put our minds at rest. Let's go and get a second. And we did all right after that. I think for the rest of the half.
Yeah, I felt that we looked excellent in the first half and even in the second, but It was just I miss a lot of it when I'm photographing it because I only focus on whatever sort of like zoomed in bit the camera sees. But I thought we were all over them from where I was sitting, and it was frustrating not to just get the safety in and ride comfortably at 2-0, but
Yeah.
mm,
The only real chance for them, Josh, I guess, the kind of biggest chance is that deflection that came off Keelan Adams and just went by the post. And also the one that Sean Mackey, Nicky pulled off a really, really good save. And Sean Mackey was able to get over and clear it. It was a very good clearance from Sean because I was going to be a tapping, but Sean managed to get over and clear it. But that's kind of two big chances they had, I guess.
Yeah, the Keelan deflection was just one of those ones. I think he's running to make the tackle. I think Cole maybe gets there first, and it just falls into Keelan's stride, who can't stop his movement, and it's fractionally wide of Nicky's post. So thankfully that was saving his blushes there. Not that he could do anything about it,
No.
but I think it was a massive save from Hogarth. He got a really strong hand to push it. He could only push it wide, and it was a certain goal if Mackie hadn't timed that right. So you've got to credit him. It was a really clever bit of defending just to nick that behind.
Yeah, absolutely. So well done for Sean on that. We won't be saying that a bit later on. So 1-0, we get in first half. We could have been, maybe should have been up by a bit more and just given us a wee bit of room to breathe in that second half. It all kind of, it didn't change a bit, but I think when your captain goes off and Call the way he marshals the defence, that was probably warning sign number one. Obviously, in Tom Lang, we bring on his aggression, his ability to win the ball, and we all know how comfortable a centre half is that Tom is. It's, certainly playing against alongside Hendo as well. But I saw Call pulling up a wee bit. Josh, you probably have more of an inside scoop. Any word on Call's injury?
I've not heard any updates from anyone on his injury. I thought he was struggling at the start of the Ayr United game. Obviously, he got subbed towards the end of that. There was a few times he came off challenges and seemed a little bit to moving a bit gingerly, but Cole he powers through. He just would play through anything for the club. Probably the right decision to take him off if he's not 100%. But as you say, what I like about Cole Donaldson is the way he carries the ball forward out of defence. He's basically like a centre midfield player. That the passes he has in his locker, he doesn't always go for them, but when the likes of Tate and Spencer, Arfield, when they're getting man marked, he just can drive forward and start to play make from the back.
Yeah, big loss, Ruby. I think when you're captain and Weeder get sent off, but obviously, like I say, Tom came on as an adequate replacement. Would you have went for Tom or Luke? Was Tom the obvious choice to come on? Do you think?
yeah, I mean, I always like to see Tom Lang coming on.
Yeah. So that don't worry about it.
Big fan of Luke as well. I think that he would have been a great addition in there, but I think Tom was the right choice for where it was in the game. Um, I maybe would have had. I'm going back on what I said about the starting lineup, but I maybe would have had Tom on from the start
And
and Cole,
Henderson in midfield.
just swapping Tom and Cole about there.
Yeah. Aye.
I don't know. I think that Cole struggled towards the end of the game recently, like obviously with a bit of a niggling injury there. But I'm not professional.
Yeah. Well, I'll be interested to see what happens at Thistle, which we'll talk about in a bit. Big chance though, falls to us first, and there was that spell, Josh, at the start of the second half. And I said it's only a matter of time. The goal's coming. Actually, the guys next to us, I just said the goal's coming. There's a matter of time, and the biggest chance was from Ethan Ross when he took a deflection, fell into his path, and he had Josh Ray to beat in the Raith goals, and he kind of went for power rather than maybe a wee side foot and tried to get under. He's kind of went for power. And in fairness to Josh Ray, spread himself really well and made the save. But you just think, see if he kept that low on a side foot, we're 2-0 up.
I think I actually forgot about this chance till you just mentioned it. It was kind of a bit fortunate to fall into his path, but he reacts so quickly. I don't think he's got time to place it. I think he's just got
Yeah.
to turn and swing at it. It hits Josh Ray square in the face. So it's not it's just he's made himself really big. The
Yeah.
angle's not great. So, you know, I don't think even Ross could have done much more. It's just you've got to give credit to the goalkeeper.
Yeah, no, it was a big chance, probably our best chance at that 1-0 to try and make it two. Then we, shortly after seeing the first yellow card to Sean, what this it's a bit of a calamity of errors, this one, and I have to say, and I don't like doing it, pointing the finger at Dylan Tate because it's not the first time this has happened. He's just complacent, lost the ball in midfield, and Sean Mackey's went in as Sean Mackey does pretty hard, missed the ball and took the man down in the middle of the park. It just was it just was a yellow card that we didn't need to give away, Ruby, if you know what I mean.
It was careless. I don't know if careless is the right word, but it didn't feel like, as you say, didn't you give that away? It just came out of
Nowhere. Yeah.
panic almost. Like just slow it down a minute and take a breather. But yeah.
Yeah. What do you make of it? The first yellow, Josh?
As you say, it's a bit of a poor piece of play from Tate, who as a whole, he didn't have a bad game. He just seems, and I've noticed this when he plays against Raith Rovers, he tries so hard
Yeah.
because obviously being a former team, I think he's just trying too hard. And if he would just, calm it down and he'd maybe be a bit better. But Mackie, he's the favourite to win the ball. I don't know why he's gone to ground. I think he's got the pace, he's got the power to even just clear it, but he slides in and again he missed times he slide, he gets over the top of the ball and to be honest, as soon as the challenge was made, I was fearing a straight red.
Yeah. I mean, certainly a definite yellow and maybe an amber at that. And then minutes later, it's pretty much just he's been done. He's been absolutely done.
Feel for him on the second one. The second one is a challenge that I don't think he gets booked if he's not on a card.
Yeah.
But because it's in quick succession, I can see why he's gone for the second yellow. I do think he's unlucky. I don't know how he's meant to pull out that challenge. I think it's
Yeah.
just
I mean, I think it's actually smart with Doherty. I think that he just nicked by him, knew that Sean was on the yellow card, and Sean was in the way. And it was. I think it was actually smart play from his perspective that he knew Sean was on the yellow, and that's what he's done there. Any complaints about any of the yellow cards, Ruby?
No, I mean I think looking back they were fair. I mean I'm Falkirk Daft the date of the referee, I'm not a big fan of him, but no big complaints. I think someone said to me earlier today that like after that yellow and like you were saying his first yellow was borderline quite bad. Would you have taken him off to keep him safe? I don't know. Can you play like that? But just unfair is what it is.
We all know what we get with Sean Mackey. We've always known what we get with Sean Mackey. He doesn't have the name Saki for no reason. He's so committed from the first game he played in the Falkirk shirt, and everyone will always remember that tackle he made against Hibs. Sensational stuff. And I love Sean, but he has that in him. He just has that carelessness and that rush of blood to the head, which is, I mean, I'm sure McGuinn is tearing his hair out. Sorry, he doesn't have any hair to tear out. But if he did, he'll be ripping his cap off his head and ripping it up because it was just so frustrating. And immediately you just felt, oh. And obviously Sean, you could tell in Sean's face, he knew I mean, I've not seen anyone as devastated to go off the pitch than Sean Mackey did at the weekend. I mean, I have to say, I for one, there was a few people around me applauding. I was like, absolutely no chance. I'm applauding that because that's just stupid, absolutely stupid and just senseless. But it's Sean, and that's what you get with Sean. He's got it in him to do that. But I, for one,
I actually thought it was very classy for off the fans. You could see how much
Yeah.
regret was in his eyes. He's obviously we talked
mean,
earlier. He saved
yeah.
a certain goal in the first half.
yeah, he
Um,
did. He did.
it's sloppy. I wouldn't say it's careless as such, but certainly sloppy. And he knew as soon as he'd made the challenge,
Yeah,
he had that look
knew
of
he was going. He knew he was going, and it just it's just a nightmare. But then we're in this situation, and like we've got half an hour pretty much to see out the game, and obviously it's hard going. Raith Rovers, I mean, almost like they pounced upon it straight away, and they were balls in the box, and there was scrambles, and we're clearing balls left, right, and centre. But let's talk about the subs we made to kind of counteract us going down to 10. Josh, we'll start off Miller Thompson coming on for Arfield. Now, Arfield, I don't think affected the game as much as you would like to have, but I thought Miller Thompson was a really strange sub to make.
I don't think it was the right game for Miller Thompson. I
No.
think he's someone that certainly has a lot to bring to the team. He's got pace and trickery. We've seen that a few times in spells and games.
But when your back's against the wall against 11 men, I honestly.
What I would have done if I was McGlynn, which I'm not, and I don't have anywhere near the ability to make these calls, but I would have liked to have seen Graham come on for Arfield, and then Barney to come
five.
on, and I would have just played a back three of Graham, Henderson, and Lang, and I would have played Adams wing back, Miller wing back, and then have Spencer. I would have brought on Nisbet for Tate,
Yeah.
and for the running, and I would
Yeah.
have gone Barney and Ross up top and played kind of that 3-4-2 and just tried to go for it that way.
Yeah, but what about you, Ruby?
Yeah.
We're all armchair managers making the subs at the moment. What would you have done?
I think in that position when you're down to 10 men, I would have brought Luke on. I would have gone for size and just got the height and got the bigger bodies on the pitch just to make up for missing someone. Saying that, I didn't think that from my angle, Miller had a bad game. I thought it was
I
quite.
thought he just looked a bit lightweight for the situation that we were in. I just thought, I mean, if you're going to make, I think I agree with the changes you guys are suggesting, but if you are still going to play, I mean, Alfie's an outball. Do you know what I mean? Alfie's big, strong, and physical, and he's an outball. So he's someone that can hold. When we can see how he can hold the ball up and what he can do and getting into corners. So I do think Alfie maybe might have been on shout to come on, but does he have the discipline to play against the 11? I don't know, but I don't think the right subs were made particularly, I have to say. And I thought McKeever coming on again, for me it was a Barney Stewart sub that was probably rather than McKeever. Josh?
I don't think we can really complain about McKeever because he's feeding off scraps. He's having to do the work of two people up front when he's going against three centre halves. As soon as he chases one, it goes back to the goalie and out to the other side. He's chasing shadows. I think the flick-ons that he did win, he won them. He got them into areas. It was just there's no one up there to support, and when you're a man down, that's just unfortunately going to happen.
Yeah. I went from bad to worse though, however, and I mean when it went to 10, I mean I thought initially we were really set up, really two good banks of four with McKeever just up there on his own. And I looked at it, there was always a spare man, however, and it was always Lewis Stevenson. They just let him go spare all the time. You just let Lewis and Stevenson go spare. And like the big change for them is when they brought on the boy Marsh for Stevenson. And then suddenly, because Lewis Stevenson didn't have the legs anymore to go by, so I think the team were like, right, we'll just leave him. He'll be spare. We'll be able to get across and cover. But I think the big change, and obviously he got his goal as well, Marsh. But I thought that was a real. I saw it and I was like, I actually was sitting next to Sam McGivern, and he says, no, that's I said he's getting off in a lot of space. He said, no, that'll be tactical. That's why Lewis Stevenson's getting all the space he is, because they'll just leave him out there and they'll defend when they need to. But yeah, I thought bringing on Marsh, Barry Robson obviously saw this as well and thought, there's where I'll capitalise upon it, and right enough, they did. let's talk about the first goal. Why is Dylan Tate up against Callum Fordyce? I don't know what's happened there. Like at the back post, what is happening?
I think it's just the Raith players have just managed to get a good switch, and they've just been blocked out. Someone's been blocked out, and Matt Fordyce has just got the leap. And I do think it takes a deflection as well. I think it hits
does.
off a body, and that wrong foot's Nicky. I think if that's a clean header, Nicky can tip it wide. But just the slight deflection just
I think it was
takes
off,
it away.
Was it off Adams? I don't know who the deflection took it off of, but I was just like, Jesus, it's in the back of the net. And just the deflation, you could just feel it in the stadium because we knew what was coming against 11 men. And at 88 minutes, you're going, Christ, just 10 more minutes, Falkirk, just 10 more minutes, just hold on, defend with your lives. And it was just, for me, it was just a silly mistake. But second goal, Ruby, was probably even worse in terms of the whole team just switched off.
Yeah,
You know,
I
and
think
like a centre half free just to tap it into the net.
I know. I think just after the first goal, the confidence has just knocked a bit because we'd done so well. We'd held them off for so long without Sean, and then the confidence was gone. And then it was like a couple of seconds before that second one went in. I just saw it coming, and after that, it's a blur for me.
Yeah, it was. Josh, I think we all seen it coming, didn't we?
Yeah, I think as soon as the first goal went in, it did have the feeling that Rafe had all the momentum. They had the man advantage. They had a lot of fresh legs come on. And I think Falkirk, they try and play in a bit of an offside trap. They're trying to come out and step up, and it's just they've just been a bit late in doing so.
I saw a lot of debate amongst the Falkirk players after that goal went in. There was a lot of shouting between the lot of them, going, "What the fuck?" You
And
know,
I think it's just a miscommunication of players said, right, let's step up. Someone's maybe not got the shout, and that's the problem with when you change your defence midway through a match is it's hard to get into the rhythm of when to step up, when to drop back, and when you're playing Calvin Miller left back and Tom Lang's just come on for a half, it's all makeshift. It's difficult. So I don't want to say it's poor because it's difficult, but it's disappointing from a fan when I don't think it was the right time to step up. There's some times when you could like step up, but you're under so much pressure. I don't think it was the right decision on that in that situation.
yeah, it was heartbreaking. Absolutely, oh God, just reliving that moment. I won't even talk. Like the penalty didn't make any odds. It was never a penalty, by the way. Josh, I heard you on co-coms. It was. I don't know how that wasn't a foul at Falkirk, and it was a penalty rate. I've watched it back several times. Maybe you can tell us more.
The only thing I could see was that was it Easton that went down. I can't. I've tried
Probably.
my brain. But the Rafe player that's gone down, his feet are off the ground, his body's off the ground, and he's dived into Finn Yates. Finn Yates makes contact, but there's no way he's in control of his own body.
No.
So I have no idea how. But the ref's made his decision. He's not going to change his mind, and
It didn't matter. I mean, it didn't matter.
the game was done by that point.
The only thing that mattered was that wee fanny at Dylan Easton that scored. But you know, I hate that guy. But yeah, it didn't make any odds to the outcome of the match, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, Ruby, you said you had tears in your eyes when it happened. It was just hot. It was just so deflating, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, like you say, like when the whistle went for that penalty, I was like, oh, I don't care. Like by that point, it wasn't going to make a difference, and yeah. Normally at the end of the game, I like to hang around and turn around and get photos of everyone coming out the Kevin McAllister stand. I just had to pack up and walk away. I couldn't turn around today.
Yeah, a lot of people. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff on social media. Just people berating, why did you leave before the final whistle? You know, we've done great. And listen, the team's done great. I just think it's the disappointment of it all. You know, the sellout stadium, the anticipation, everything. Everyone was just so disappointed and so frustrated at what we just witnessed in that last kind of 5 minutes. It was just so Falkirk. It was just so fucking Falkirk. I'm just like, oh, I really should expect it, but I think it's just because we've been a different beast for so long, but then it just took me back to, this is how it used to be. And like you say, we're all depressed in that stadium, and, we've had years and years of watching that kind of stuff happen to us, and it was just that way, it was like opening an old wound again, I think. Like, because we were stuck in that League One, and we saw countless many fucking worse things happen when we were down there with a terrible team in the park. But I think, we keep 11 men in the park, we go on and win. And we're not having this conversation that we've had today. So it's just a real frustration, it's a real disappointment, and just put a big damp squib. But as I say, at the start of the podcast, strike one. We've got 2 more strikes to go at it, so hard to take. Anyway, let's see what Mr. McGlynn had to say after the match.
John, a tough result to take today. How do you begin to sum that one up?
Well, just going through the stages of the game, I thought we started the game very, very well. You could see that Calvin was a constant threat, and he was all afternoon. Well, up to an hour or so. We got a good goal, well-worked goal. Ethan Ross is involved in it, throwing across the pitch, switch of play, and Calvin does remarkably well. And we're on top. I thought that they were very seldom troubled for an hour. I thought we were very comfortable, or as comfortable as you can be with a 1-0 lead. Goalkeepers pulled off a really, really good save for Ethan Ross in the second half. Again, I thought we put Raith Rovers under a lot of pressure in that opening for 50 minutes of the second half. I'm very, very happy with the performance. Everything was going along quite nicely, but unfortunately, Sean's picked up 2 yellow cards, and it's put us on the back foot. Which again we actually defended quite well up until the 88th minute. So it's disappointing to lose 3 goals after that. I don't think we deserved that, based on everything that had went before it. So it's a sore one to take. We've now managed to do that in 3 big games, lose late goals that have kind of cost us. But we've got to stick together. We have to rally. We've got Partick Thistle on Friday night. Again, it's an opportunity for us to cement this league title. And that's our aim.
So what's John McGlynn? They are talking about, and we didn't talk about this, is the game management in that last kind of 10 minutes of a game, Josh. We've seen it against Dunfermline, we've seen it against Livingston, we've seen it against Ayr last week, and now we've seen it against Raith Rovers. Is there a mentality issue?
I wouldn't say there's a mentality issue. I think it's maybe just a bit inexperienced. I think last year we got ourselves into positions where we weren't under a lot of pressure late in games. We'd had the games mostly sealed up. I think this year, the start of the season again, we'd normally had teams out of sight by the last 15-20 minutes. So now when there's like a 1-goal lead or it's a draw, the pressure's maybe cranked up a little bit. I also think Livingston, having played the Friday night and got the result, just that puts more pressure on the boys to know they need a result. And I think that was maybe part of the reason, is that there's almost the expectation that you need that result. Just it adds to the pressure.
Yeah, it's certainly been an issue. I mean, when you look back at the points we've dropped in those last minutes, I mean, there's about, when you look across the season, it's probably about 8 points we've dropped. Ayr, well, I don't think we've yesterday, Saturday was a thing, but Ayr, Livingston, and certainly Dunfermline's games we should have seen out and grabbed 3 points rather than just the one from those matches. But hey ho, let's see what you guys had to say about the match. Jamie kicks us off by saying, well in control until Mackie's madness, can't seem to defend crosses in our box late on in games for some reason. It was the start of the season, we had real issues with set plays, and then it kind of dissipated a wee bit, Ruby, but then we seem to really struggle now again with, I mean, the goals, yes, on Saturday, they came from, pretty much set plays again, and it's just something that we seem to have got into bad habits again.
Yeah, it was just that it all crumbled in the last 10 minutes there. And I think that's just, like John was saying, the whole game, we did deserve to win. We did play very well. We deserved to probably have more than one goal on them. But then it's that sort of just deflation at the end where it's just knock after knock. You've got Sean going off and then you're getting tired and making all those changes. It's just, like Josh is saying as well, like the discipline to keep going at 100% till the end. And I think we dropped that in that last bit.
Yeah. Martin says, shat the bed, big style. McGlynn may have got torn into them after the match, but he needs to look in the mirror with some of his decision making too. Lack of backbone is killing this team. Again, I don't think the team have a lack of backbone because I think they've stood up to a lot of challenges. What I would say is just we need a bit more aggression in that central area, Josh, and I think we've lost a wee bit of that since Hendo's kind of dropped back into centre half.
Yeah, I think Hendo's presence in the middle of the park, because Brad Spencer is strong, but he's not tall. And I think sometimes just having Hendo's height in the middle of the park just to try and push it forward so that then the striker, whether it be McKeever, Stewart or Oliver, they can then actually go for the second ball instead of having to go for the first ball and then dropping deep. So I think going forward it might be worth, well, obviously it depends on Cole's fitness, but if you can shift Hendo back into midfield, because I think we'd had some like 15 points out of 6 games when Hendo moved back into midfield. So
yeah, a good start, mate. Good start. Colin says, angriest have been at a game since Airdrie. More madness cost us, but hopefully expect us to win the league, as I don't see any way we don't beat Hamilton. Hopefully Friday night will be enough. Even if not, we'll be fine. I like that. I do like that. That'll be strike 3 though, Colin. I don't want to get to strike 3. Let's just do it on strike 2, please. Pete, has a red card ever had such an impact on a game? It's a good question. Falkirk in cruise control and Raith with no real threat. Then 3 mistakes, 2 from Saki with the needless fouls, and then the failure to replace Miller with Graham, as you called out, Josh. 2 big wins coming up. I like the confidence in that as well. Random Falkirk fan says, we never do things the easy way. Of course we don't. We're Falkirk, of course not. Shout out to the Raith Ultras attacking the Pie Sports workers and Stewart after the match. Definitely Falkirk Dafties of the week. I saw a wee bit on socials about this. Has anyone heard anything beyond the claims that have been made on socials?
Not on my end. I heard that they'd gotten like inside the Falkirk side of the North Stand at the end of the game, but it's all rumour. So
yeah, I know, certainly know sitting in hospitality, it was a couple of Raith supporters, and actually Blair, who does the Raith Rovers podcast, spoke to him. He was in there, does the no, I can't remember how many no's are on it, but he does the no podcast, and one of his pals that he was in with was a wee bit too celebratory. Now, obviously, you can celebrate and all that sort of stuff, but it got a wee bit too much into it. And I know I saw words being had with a few Falkirk supporters on that side, so I thought it was going to be a kick-off, but luckily it was all sorted out in the end. But yeah, it was not great, but listen, if you win and you can't help yourself celebrating, but aye, that's out of order in the case. So yeah, let us know what happened there if you can. Mark says, our threat has diminished lately, and for all Ross Miller excite, their assists to others are poor. I think Ethan Ross had the assist yesterday, but we'll gloss over that. Our knack of conceding late in games is troubling, difficult with 10, and subs fell short. McKeever looked miles off it and he has since returning. Spotted the fair weather fans at the end. Again, I just, the fair weather stuff, people just are disappointed. I don't think you read too much into that of like not staying. I just think people, emotions are overriding, and I think if you just want to, like I said, I just wanted to go home after results like that. I just want to get, when you just want to go home and just cry and into a pillow. But that's enough about me. Paul just put Henderson in midfield and we cruise the last 2 games. It's easy, lots of defensive cover, but we have to realise Tate with Spencer isn't the way forward. They've been great, absolutely, but we need strength in there now, as we talked about earlier on. Brendan, in summary, another goal here would be nice. Just see this out. Oh, for fuck's sake, why did you do that? Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, for fuck's sake. The rabbit, its bastard and nose, keeps twitching for another week or more. Fine, absolutely, Brendan. Good summary there. And Craig says, win or lose, we're on the booze. Yeah, it doesn't taste as nice though when you lose though, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll keep it going until the end of the season. Right, we've reached that point in the podcast now where I throw it out to you guys, and you've got to tell me who is Falkirk Daft rated for this week. Josh Heggie.
Calvin Miller.
Calvin Miller.
I think he was unbelievable. I think his close control's impeccable. Obviously, he scored the goal. I think everything positive in the first half came, or not everything, but most things positive came through Calvin Miller. And I think him and Adams have a great partnership. I think Arfield and Miller create so much together. But I think really second half of the season, Miller's been such a talisman for the way Falkirk attack. And yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
Ruby?
Yeah, I have to agree with Josh. Calvin Miller, excellent in the first half. He was all over the place, and then even in the second half, towards the end, with a couple of close calls.
Aye.
Yeah,
He had that big chance. I can't remember if it was one each or if it was 2-1. Where
when he went through, it was one each, and he went through. Yeah, at the end, it was just the angle that kind of got against them.
And there was also one where I think it was a corner that we defended. He got on the end of it, fully ran 80 yards at full pelt, won us a throw-in up the park.
Yeah.
So that's and Calvin is a player that often gets subbed at the 70-minute mark.
Yeah.
But to give that energy, that effort, and that execution so late in the game, great player. We're lucky to have him.
Yeah. I'll have full house. I can't argue with that. Dafty, I can't look beyond Sean. I cannot look beyond Sean. I never like giving it to a Falkirk player, but I can't. The referee is usually a kind of go-to, but I think we were our own downfall. So I'm going to have to say Sean Mackey. Josh,
I'm not gonna dig out Sean like that. I think his clearance in the first half is enough for him to get out of the Falkirk Dafty. We'll go the Raith fans for me if they're for attacking the Pie Sports staff.
If that's the case, yeah. Ruby?
Yeah, I was just going to say there, the particular Raith Ultra that hit Gary Oliver with a water bottle.
I saw that, yeah. After the goal, was it? Yeah.
And caught that, so that's
right. Listen, we'll give it to the Raith fans then in that case, because like you say, you don't want to give it to your own players, but it's just inexcusable for me that on the weekend. But there we go, Raith fans get it. I'm outvoted, right? Okay, well, listen, that's been a bit cathartic. I've quite enjoyed getting off my chest. Are you two okay?
Getting there.
Right.
Getting there. Yeah.
Do you feel that you've got a lot off your chest? Hopefully, a lot of people listening or watching this, they're feeling the same now. We've got it all out in the open. We'll look at. We've got 2 more strikes to go, and we've got we'll speak to David from the Draw, Lose or Draw podcast just in a minute about that Partick game on Friday night. But first, before we let Ruby go, Josh, we've got to play Falkirk Daft versus. Yes, I'm bringing it back. I'm not letting you off the hook this week. I spoke to Ruby at the recognition there, and she says, if I are doing Falkirk Daft versus, you need to make it questions just from this season. So I've the ladies' prerogative, I've went for the ladies' prerogative, and I've got 5 questions in front of me from this season. Are you two willing to take part in Falkirk Daft versus?
Yeah.
Go on then.
Josh, you're representing Falkirk Daft. So have you got a pen and paper to hand or a phone that you can write your answer on, or an iPad or something like that, and we'll get Ruby to shout out our answer? Smashing. Right, okay, brilliant. Here we go then. You know how the game works. Penalty shootout style quiz on the Falkirk Bairns. And if it's a draw, we go to a tie-break question. Right, okay, so first question is, which Falkirk player was named Player of the Month in February 2025? Which Falkirk player was named Player of the Month in February 2025? Josh is writing down his answer. Ruby, I'll get you to shout out as soon as Josh has written down. It looks like he's written it down. Ruby, have you got an answer?
Scott Arfield.
Scott Arfield. Josh?
Scott Arfield.
Spot on. Both right. 1-1. How many points, and this is where Carol Voderman has to come in, how many points have Falkirk dropped at the stadium in the league this season? How many points have Falkirk dropped at the stadium in the league this season? The maths, I can hear the cogs turning, here. Josh is casting his mind back. 3 add 2 add 2. It's a tough question. People are shouting at the podcast right now. We have to hurry up and write down an answer. Josh, Heggie, Ruby, have you got an answer?
A rough guess.
A rough guess from Ruby. Josh is going to write down his answer. You got something written down, Josh?
Yes.
Ruby, what are you going for?
8.
You're saying 8. Josh?
It's torn between 2. I've gone with 12. I did think 10, but I'm just going to anticipate me forgetting one.
Well, let's do the maths here. Okay, so we dropped the following points. 2 against Ayr. We dropped 2 against Livingston with a draw. We also dropped 3 against Livingston, which takes us to 7. We dropped 2 against Queen's Park. And we dropped 3 at the weekend, so it is 12 points. Well done, Josh. Goes into the lead, 2-1. Right.
I forgot about the Ayr United one, so I'm glad I changed my answer.
So what you're telling us, you just absolutely fluked it there, Josh. Never admit a mistake, my friend. Right, Reece Walker is on loan at which club this season? Reece Walker is on loan at which club? Josh has went straight to write that down. Let's go 3-1. Ruby, what's your answer?
Oh, I know this is wrong, but it's not Civil Service Strollers. That's someone else.
It's not Civil Service Strollers. Josh, what you written down?
Beef.
The Blue Brazil themselves. So 3-1 to Josh. You need to get this next question right to stay in the game. Ruby, you're hoping that Josh gets it wrong. Dara O'Connor is on loan from which club? Dara O'Connor is on loan from which club? Josh Heggie has very confidently written something down straight away. Ruby, what you got?
Is it Bath?
You're saying Bath. Josh Heggie has written down
York City.
And Josh has the quiz. Ruby, I'm sorry. I tried to play into your wheelhouse with just questions from this season. But unfortunately, it's a victory for Falkirk Daft, and Josh gets the Champions League music right now. Sorry, Ruby. Sorry. Do you know what? If you had won, I was definitely going to play the Kaiser Chiefs, so... I'm
counting that as 1 point dropped for a draw, not 2. So that's just completely...
Oh no.
It's me trying to claw back there, but well done.
Never mind. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Ruby, for joining us on Falkirk Daft this evening. Really appreciate your time. Check out Ruby's photos. Give you the plug to the website, Ruby, so people can go and buy your wonderful photos.
Yep. rubyadamphotography.co.uk.
There you go. rubyadamsphotography.co.uk. Go on, check out all Ruby's amazing pictures. Buy one for your friend, buy one for your family, buy one for yourself. Get it framed, make it look pretty, make your house look pretty with lots of Ruby's pictures around your living room. That's what I would say. Anyway, Ruby, thanks so much for coming on Falkirk Daft, and we'll see you again soon.
Perfect. See you.
This is Falkirk Daft.
With Behind the Wall, we're navy blue. Are you?
Every week on Falkirk Daft, we look ahead to the next game, and that is happening at Firhill for Thrills Friday night. It's on the telly. It's the chance for Falkirk to win the league. Well, effectively win the league, hopefully, depending on results. And all season we've been speaking to him on the podcast. Please welcome to Falkirk Daft from the Draw, Lose or Draw podcast. It's David Forrest. How are you, David?
Hello, I'm doing very well. Apart from whenever I watch Partick Thistle play, but you know, I'm in the knee deep in WrestleMania weekend, very tired.
Well, listen, as you can probably see in my background, I just don't want to talk about Falkirk. So if you want to talk about last night's main event, I'm more than happy to do that ahead of Sunday night WrestleMania. Josh is not You're not a big wrestling fan, Josh, are you? It's your co-commentator Sean Elderbrand that me and him bond over wrestling with. But no, we really probably should talk about football on a football podcast. But tell us about the life and times of Partick Thistle, Dave. It's been a wee while since we spoke to you. You've had a change of manager since then. How is it going under the stewardship of Mark Wilson and Brian Graham?
I mean, I seem to remember the last time I came on here, I was really morose and depressed, and we'd already chucked it for the season, and we just didn't care anymore. And we were like, right, that's our season effectively done, because we'd kind of fallen out of the tail race by that point. Not much has changed. We are all still morose. We're all still depressed. We have all chucked it, and all think our season is done. The more things change, the more they stay the same. It's a different flavour of sheer depression, to be fair, but it is one of, we all are just crying out for this season to be done. Like we are so over this season and want it to be done. When we sacked Doolan, I mean, the games before Doolan was relieved of his duties were some of the worst games that I've seen. Like, in terms of, that way where like sometimes you lose games, and I mean, a good example would be the Airdrie game a couple of weeks ago, where we, last, say, 50, 20 minutes, we really rallied round. They got an equaliser, and we went for it. We went for the win, went for the throw, and then get caught in the counter, and Airdrie scored to make it 2-1, and we lost. And you can kind of accept that. We've had that before. I remember a big game against Ayr where that happened, where if you're going for it, you're going for the win, and you get caught and you lose, you can kind of go, all right, at least we tried. Under Doolan, by the end, it looked like they did not care, and they were not trying. And then when Graham and Wilson came in, it was great. First 5-6 games, we done really, really well. We were undefeated, and we were all sort of like, right, just keep it ticking over until we get to the playoffs, and then we'll see what we can do there. Because that's what happened with Doolan the last time, is we came in from the call, kind of got us ticking over into fourth place for the playoffs, and then we went in the playoffs and went in a run. That's all you can ask for in that position. And then we get beat by Airdrie, again, caught in the counter, is what it is. Airdrie, very good side at the moment. I know they're bottom, well, not bottom of the league now because of Hamilton, but they have played very well. And certainly compared to a lot of the teams in the league, they do play a more attractive brand of football, even if it's not worked all of the time, certainly at the start of the season. But then we've got the Hamilton game, and the Hamilton game was just absolutely horrendous, like one of the worst spectacles I've seen in a long, long time. And we were straight back to the Doolan era of players looked like they chucked it, couldn't put passes together, and just didn't look like they're giving any effort. The moment that it really hit me, more about the championship, but Thistle in general, and even especially teams like Morton as well, whatever. I went to cover a game between two college teams, ESOL teams, that's English second other language teams. So it's all people from Sudan, all that sort of thing. And I was watching this, and I was a bit confused as to what was going on until I realised that they were all making passes to each other successfully and not lumping the ball up and actually playing it in the deck, and actually played quite nice football. And I've just been so beaten down by Thistle over the last couple of years that I hadn't seen it in so long in the flesh that I could not understand it. But I think that the fans have just completely given up on this season.
Really? I think that's really interesting to hear, though, when you're still, obviously, you've had a bit like us, you've had a wee bit of dip in form over the last couple of weeks with, 2 losses and a draw there at the weekend. But, you're still well in with a shout of getting that fourth place and getting into the playoffs. Or do you fear the playoffs that much that you just don't think you'd have a chance against the Ayr?
It's not even that. I think that, personally, I think if we get into the playoffs, solar power Jags is a term we always use about when the sun's out, Friday nights, Muns is packed, the atmosphere's up. We usually do quite well, certainly for Hill in the playoffs. I actually wouldn't have too much of a concern in terms of that. If we lose, we lose, because as far as we're concerned, we're done already. If we win, great, we can continue on. But I think that, we're obviously going to be doing a year-end or season-end awards very soon, and you're looking at sort of best match, best players and stuff like that. And it is so hard to think of a good match, as in like a good performance where you go, wow, we absolutely turned on the style. There was a game against Hamilton that we won, I think it's 5-1, but it was one each at half time, and Hamilton were abysmal and still managed to equalise against us. We don't, there isn't any, I mean, like, for example, when we won League One, there was a couple of games where you go, right, that was an absolutely brilliant game to watch. The 5-0 at Firhill, for example, would have been our best game of the season. But in other seasons as well, there's ones where it's clear that's the best game of the season. I could not tell you what it's been because it's been so lacklustre and poor. I'm pretty sure we've been fourth since September, and we've just sat there and done nothing since. And it's just, we've not moved up, we've not moved down, we've not done any convincing performances. We're just sitting there existing. And I think it's bad for us as well because we are a club who always has a fight. We always have something to do. Someone like Morton, for example, Morton genuinely comes sixth a lot of the time. They don't really ever get into the playoffs or the promotion places, don't really ever get into the relegation places. They just exist. Same as like a Kilmarnock, or maybe not this season, but like St Johnstone in previous seasons they're just rootling about in the middle of the table and you don't really do that much. It's just there. We're never that team. We're always the team in the playoffs or getting relegated or, fighting for top six or something like that. Certainly in the time I've been going, there's never been a season when it's just, there's nothing to play for, if you know what I mean. And I think that we all feel that there is nothing to play for here because we are the kingmakers. We could beat you and then beat Livy and give you the title. Or similarly, we could beat Livy as well and then, Livy could beat us and then we could hand them the title. It's that sort of thing. But we also need a win. Any win from anywhere will probably be fine. The fact Raith have to play Queen's Park on the last day of the season is absolutely disastrous for us. I'm doing a project for college about Queen's Park, and I've went to a lot of their games this season, and good grief, they are bad. And I do not expect, I would love them to turn around, give us a result against Raith. I just don't expect it, and I think that we need at least one win to counteract that.
Yeah,
but we have to play the top two.
I guess from your perspective, that's Queen's Park pretty much safe now as well, so they don't really have much fight left in them. No. Unless I don't know what's going to happen with the Hamilton situation. I'm pretty sure that's done. I don't think by the end of the season SFA will come back on that decision to dock them 15 points from reading between the lines. But you make the term. It's a really interesting situation that both ourselves and Livingston have got to play both you and Hamilton. We've got Hamilton the last game of the season. They've got you guys in the last game of the season, where I'm hoping you'll have still something to fight for. Because if we don't do it ourselves, and hopefully you can do it for us. Though, it's very interesting to say you've been stuck in fourth for most of the season. We've been obviously top for most of the season, so it would be obviously heartbreaking for us. But coming back into Friday, I mean, are you really that? Well, I mean, the form's not been great in the last 3 games, David. But Wilson and Graham have made a bit of a change, have they? Or is it, like you say, is it just fallen back into the Doolan ways?
It's different. I mean, certainly, like from being like part of the media team at Thistle, you do speak to people quite a bit about, speak to players and stuff, and people inside the club. And one of the things that they've always mentioned up until maybe say the last week or two is how together they are and how much they are fighting for each other. So the first 5-6 games, you can see they were like working as a unit, as a team, and there was a real bond there that was pushing the team further on than they would have, say, under Doolan. There was rumours he'd lost the dressing room and stuff like that. And when you looked at the performances, you could see that certainly there was something not right there. Whereas since Graham's came in, that has changed a little bit. I think that the problem is that defensively, we're actually not too bad in terms of we don't actually concede that many goals. But at the same time, we don't score any goals. I mean, Brian Graham, I think he is still the top goal scorer in the league, possibly. I don't know how many Arfield has scored, for example, in his time with us. But he's got one of the top goal scorers there. But I mean, like yesterday, there was absolutely no service. It just did not look like we were ever going to score. And it's just defensively, we were able to kind of keep ourselves on an even keel. But it is, and that was the issue we had under Doolan, was the opposite, in the sense that we would score lots of goals, but defensively we were a bit ropey and we would concede needless goals quite a lot of the time. And now we've shored it up, we made ourselves really good defensively and just don't score. And that was a problem that Doolan had this season. And then we're finding the same with Graham as well. We struggle with that balance. We're either really good at scoring lots of goals or really good at stopping lots of goals, but we can never kind of connect the two. But I feel that everyone I speak to is just done and would quite, if you said to us right now, just wrap up the season now, you finish fifth, I don't know if there'll be too many people who will be turning out and going, no, I want to fight in the playoffs, because I think, again, we've beaten Ayr 2-3 times this season. We can do it, certainly at Firhill. And Livy as well, we've looked a lot better in the last game or two against them. But, I mean, the fact that the idea of having to play Livingston 3 consecutive times fills me with utter dread, and I don't really want to do that. So, yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, it might not be that case. We've got, obviously, I mean, it's a huge game for Falkirk going into this, Josh, as well. Like, the last time we were at Firhill, it was a brilliant performance, Josh. Like, I thought we were very unlucky, I think, to draw that match.
Yeah, last time away at Thistle, it was like one of what I would say Falkirk's best performance of the season at that point. How we only scored the one goal, I still don't know. And it was just the old Brian Graham loves to score against Falkirk.
Yeah.
And he had one chance in the game and he took it, and that's what Brian Graham can
does.
Yeah, that's what he can do. He's just a really experienced player, and it will be interesting. David, I don't know if you can give some insight to what's the kind of formation that Graham and Wilson have been lining us up as. I'm assuming it's been like a 3-5-2.
Yeah, so it's been a three. It kind of depends, to be honest. We have went a lot of the time 3 at the back. We found that generally have O'Reilly and Ashcroft there. Macbeth usually in front of them in the midfield, but sometimes he can be pulled back in to make it a 3. You've got Megwa. And I think the problem we've had is that Reid and Kelly have also been out for, I can't remember if it was Reid or Kelly. One of them was ill last week. The other one was injured, I think. And we've kind of had to tinker it about. But yeah, generally speaking, 3 at the back. It just depends on the team. I would suspect that we will play 3 in the back against Falkirk for sure, because it's Falkirk going for the league. They are absolutely crying out for a win to get them over the line. We will make it really stuffy. And also, I mean, if you look at that game at the Falkirk Stadium, was it February, something like February, March? A really entertaining spectacle to watch. Lots of goals, but at the same time, we were quite porous, and I think they will want to kind of show it up a little bit and see how we do in terms of just sustaining the pressure.
That's the only thing that worries me, is if you line up in a back 3/back 5. That's a formation Falkirk have tended to struggle against this season. Livingston being the only side that I think have played a 4 that we've struggled against, but when Ayr United played a 3, we've dropped points against them. When Raith Rovers have played the 3, we've dropped points against them on a few occasions and got knocked out of the cup. So I wonder if John McGlynn will have that on his mind and maybe match up.
That'd be interesting actually to see. And we'll see him do it this season. Obviously, Raith in away at starts being the obvious one. Just a question, just on the pitch, David, how's it looking? Because obviously, the way we play football, we like to zip it about. How's the pitch looking at Firhill?
It's not been. It's certainly worse than it was in the summer. There is bits that are not looking fantastic. However, it is light years away from. You may remember when you were in League One with Queen's Park. Did you ever play them at Firhill then? And the absolute tatty field that we had at that point, because we were ground sharing with them. That was a real nadir. It's nowhere near that. But it's not a carpet and a bowling green or anything like that. But it's fine. I do think that we have certainly at Firhill used it a bit to our advantage. We seem to be able to play better on it, and you do sometimes see the odd team struggle against it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think it's not an absolute state, but it's not pristine, and I think that we certainly Brian Game will be out, make sure the grass is long and watering the pitch and all that, and yeah, probably to kind of get a bit of an advantage. But it's all right. I'd probably say it's like 6 out of 10, 5, 6 out of 10. It's not fantastic, but it's fine.
Fair enough. So, good looking ahead to Friday then. All that being said, what do you think the score's going to be?
I mean, let's be honest, it is an absolutely huge game in the title race. We are just 21 points behind you, and we've got 2 games to go. We could, if we get a win here, we can really pull it in, and we could still win this title. The title's in our hands here. So, I strangely, I feel, despite having no confidence and all of us wanting the season to end, I could see us beating you, to be honest. 2-0, Brian Graham. And not in a sense of deluded optimism, although it might sound like it. I feel we are going to be dragged into the playoffs, kicking and screaming when we all want this to be over. We will fall by accident into the playoff final when we don't want to be there. And I don't know. But I could absolutely see us getting a result. It's on the telly as well. I think a lot of it depends on the weather. If the sun's out, we generally have a better atmosphere. And I think that, as much as we are low at the moment, we don't want the helicopter landing in the pitch. We don't want you winning the league. We want to defend it and make sure you can't win the league. And I think that a lot of the fans would, in that sort of snide way of, well, if we can't be happy, you can't be happy either, and want to be the people that spoil the title party. I'm going to go, based on absolutely nothing, I will say 2-0 Thistle. But, yeah.
Josh, what are you thinking?
I think whenever Falkirk have lost this season, they've tended to bounce back pretty quickly. I think we've got that resilience in the squad. I think McGlynn will set a rocket up the backside of the players this week, and I think they'll come out and they'll win 3-1. I can see Brian Graham scoring because he always does.
Obviously.
But I think we'll do the job.
I'll be having a word. I work obviously with Mark Wilson on Super Scoreboard, so I will be messaging Mark and seeing if he will take a bung or do something to send it in Falkirk's favour. I don't know what that will entail, but I'll be having a word with Mark this week. But yeah, I think if we'd won at the weekend, I could see us either losing or drawing the match. But I think I just got to predict the Falkirk win because I can't handle them not winning, and I can't handle strike 3. This is strike 2 on Friday. I like going into the last game, meaning to beat Hamilton at home. It's just such a Falkirk thing, and I can't handle it. So I think the pressure's a wee bit more off than it is, and they'll be desperate to win it. So I think tend to agree with Josh that a rocket up the arse. As Thistle on a pretty poor run of form, though they'll want to get a win at home. But last game at home, last game of the season at Firhill, it's just honestly, it fills me with dread already even thinking about it. But I'm going to say a really nervous 1-0 win to Falkirk. I'm hoping.
I mean, I will say two things. The game being on the telly is an absolute kiss of death. This game will be atrocious to watch. Like, it will be no fun for anybody involved, Thistle fans, Falkirk fans. It will be a terrible game of football because every single game that BBC Scotland put on the Friday is absolutely stinking. But I want you to ask as well, with the loss to Raith Rovers, what's the general chat in terms of your fan base? Obviously, you, as Pie Bovril tells me all the time, you're a huge club with lots and lots of fans that turn out week in, week out. But we had to stop the tickets on Saturday because people were you sold out. What's the kind of, do you know roughly what you think you'll be taking? Stuff like that. Just like, how big is it for you? Do you think you'll take a big crowd? Because to be honest, We could do with the money. So
no, we'll. I mean, I think you saw that Thistle have stopped our selling tickets because obviously the away end is now sold out. So I don't know what is it, 2.7? I think I heard 2.7 for the away end. So now people are still are buying tickets in the home end. So that'll go to tell you how much we're going to bring. We'll bring a huge crowd through on Friday.
I would just like to say I have a season ticket that I do not use in the media team. So if any Falkirk fans would like my season ticket, I will start the bidding at £2,500. If you want to see your team win the league, I will be happy to facilitate that for you. But I don't know. We're a bit split on it because when we won the league in 2012-13, we obviously won it at Falkirk Stadium, doing the conga and all that. And you were very hospitable to us in that case. And it does feel a bit, rubbish for us to then turn around and go, nah, see you later, we don't want the extra money or whatever. But at the same time, you've got the whole perennial Rangers Celtic argument of why don't you just give us more tickets and, give us the advantage, but you'll get lots of money because money's the only thing that matters apparently and stuff like that. And we've had people saying that if we were to just give you lots and lots of tickets, then when we play Rangers and Celtic and we all turn around and go, no, we don't want them there, we don't really have a leg to stand on because we gave thousands to Falkirk, if you know what I mean. But we could do with the money. I think that it is quite important that we're not obviously not going to charge you 42 quid like Dundee United, despite what I've said to the board, they're not going to do that. But I think it's a thing we could do with the money, and we don't really have any animosity towards Falkirk. Well, apart from friend of Draw Loser Draw, Robbie Copeland of the Daily Record, who has been consistently winding me up every week when we lose a game. And Falkirk go another 3 points ahead. So I hope you do lose the titles so I can just wind up Robbie Copeland quite a lot. But it's one of those things of we would like the money. We don't really want to give you the advantage, but at the end of the day, we would like to be able to sign players in July. So
I think if the shoe was on their foot, it was Falkirk. I think it's a different era now with the Falkirk board as well, and I don't think that would have happened. Especially, I think it's different as well. Obviously, Dave, because you guys have actually got something to play for come Friday as well. So you'll want to get as many Thistle supporters in there to get behind the team and hopefully roar you on to fourth place.
Well, yeah, we'll see about that, but yeah.
Smashing. But listen, David from the Draw, Lose or Draw podcast, thank you so much for joining us on this week's Falkirk Daft. I'm hoping we're not having a conversation next season. Even though I do enjoy your chat, David, I hope we're not having a conversation with you next season. Who knows what we'll do. We can maybe talk about wrestling the next time we meet up.
Absolutely, no, definitely. No, when we're in the Prem after winning the league and you're still stuck in the Championship, I'll have you on when we get you in the League Cup or something.
Smashing. All right, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. And it's all happening down at Firhill this Friday night. Potentially, Falkirk winning the league. Oh.
This is Falkirk Daft.
With Behind the Wall and the Falkirk football fans in training.
And that is just about it for this week's Falkirk Daft. Before we go, I've got to say thank you very much to the Falkirk football fans in training. I saw a few of them at the awards night the other night. And remember, the Lava Cup is coming to the stadium Saturday the 24th of May. It's all kicking off at 10:30 with the opening ceremony, and then all the games are happening from 11 o'clock onwards. Free entry, but donations are all getting set up. Teams coming from across the world. Nottingham Forest are going to be there this year. Got teams from Iceland, got teams from, I think, Belgium, Holland. They're all coming down to the Falkirk Stadium for a big football tournament to help. It's just a festival of football fun for men of a certain vintage, and it's obviously the whole thing about it. It's just getting fit and helping people with their mental health. So get down, check it out, make a donation. The two charities this year are Maggie's in Forth Valley, a charity very close to a lot of Falkirk listeners' hearts, and Andy's Man Shed as well. I think they're down in Denny, actually. They do stuff down there. So yes, please get down and check it out. The boys put so much work into it. That's like Ian, Dougie, Mark, Thought of Old Boys, they're all putting so much money, work and effort into it, and love to see a load of people down there watching it. But get down, check it out at the Falkirk Stadium, 24th of May. And if you want to get involved with the Falkirk football fans and training the T8s, they're there at the stadium, 8 till 9 on a Monday, Tuesday, half 7 to 8:30. And the Super Vets football, of course, Josh, happens on a Friday. That is from 5 o'clock down at the stadium. All the details, if you want to get involved in any of that, are below. Get in touch with Ian, Willie, or Dougie, and you'll have friends for life and enjoy the camaraderie that the Falkirk football fans in training have every week. There you go. Listen, let's tie a bow on this week's episode, Josh, because I don't want to talk about football. I'm just going to go watch WrestleMania Night 2 now, and just try and take my mind. I don't know how I'm going to get through this week without constant, like, sleep-wise. How are you feeling about it? I mean, I'm just in a state.
Yeah, it's not good in the old mental health, is it?
I just keep thinking Hamilton. That's what I just keep thinking, because I do think it's going to be a struggle at Thistle. I really do. Like, it proved there.
Would you take a draw, John? Would you take a draw?
A point's no good for us. A point means nothing. See, at this point, like, even if we get a point, what does that mean? It means, I guess if Livingston were to draw with Thistle, we win the league then, right? They'll beat Hamilton. Livingston will beat Hamilton on Saturday. I've got no doubt in that. And my worry is they'll start racking up goals and they'll be going out with that mentality. They've certainly in the last few weeks they've been scoring loads of goals for fun, which worries me slightly. But yeah, I mean, I don't think you can take a draw. I don't think it does us any good. I really don't think it does.
I'm on the same boat as you, John. I think we need to go out, get the points in the bag, up the road. Then we can enjoy ourselves against Hamilton.
Exactly. That is the dream. That is the dream. It's just going to be so nervous on Friday. I'm already got the fear going into it. So we'll wait and see what happens. We'll be there anyway. Before we go, though, we've got the Wilmot, Edge and Gilly Roll of Honour. Archie, Colin, Joe, Paul, Dale, Gary, Phil, Lisa, Jack, Jamie and Grant all listened to this point in the podcast and sent us with some very good spellings this week of the Edge himself. And Josh, it's been like a substitute teacher. He's been fantastic subbing in for Ross. Ross will be back next week. But I'm going to give you the chance to give another name for the Roll of Honour for this week, Josh.
Hopefully this one's not been said already, but I'm going to go Medicalise.
Medicalise, what a shout! Medicalise. What year was that? That was
2006, 7, I think. Could be wrong. It was early on in my Falkirk days, but I just remember a big Moroccan boy at the back winning headers. Was he 6'6" or something? Or he was
something ridiculous. Medicalise, wow, what a shout. I didn't even I'm sure you, I mean, I say this every week, the only Moroccan to play for Falkirk as well. I don't think there'll be anyone else that was Moroccan that played for Falkirk.
Farid was nationality.
Was he not Algerian?
No, Farid Al Algoui was Moroccan descent as well.
There we go. I'm talking shite then. Right, so there's your name. Give us a game.
Medicalise.
Medicalise. That's it. That's just messages with Medicalise before the end of the week, and we'll give you a shout out on the Roll of Honour next week. Where, God, I said this last week. Hopefully, we're talking about a Falkirk win and potentially winning the title. I honestly, I hope we're all together on this. Just all I'll say is get behind the team. It's going to be hard. The nerves are going to get to all of us. But just remember, we've got Hamilton at the stadium last game of the season. We'll all be absolutely shiting it, but that is still there, even if we do slip up on Friday. That's what I keep telling myself. Keep telling yourself that. Because, yeah, it's just... I know a lot of people are like, oh, just after Saturday, everyone's starting to panic. It's okay. It's fine. Don't panic. Just keep calm, as they say in that poster. Keep calm and keep supporting Falkirk. And we'll hopefully all be in this together. And like I say, coming back here next week on Falkirk Daft with Ross in tow. And hopefully celebrating a Falkirk win and potential championship lift come 2 weeks' time. Oh, God, I can't handle it. I'm telling myself this, Josh. I keep telling myself this. Whatever gets you through, Falkirk supporters, whatever gets you through, we'll be there for you for the next 2 weeks. I think we'll wrap it up now. Get us on Instagram, get us on Twitter, get us on social medias, check us out on YouTube, buy merch.falkirkdaft.co.uk, buy the new Falkirk Daft t-shirts at pintsandprints.co.uk. Hopefully we're holding back the release till something happens in the league, but we've got 2 new t-shirts coming there hopefully in the near future. And you can join the Discord channel, details are below, and slip into our DMs or socials, or email us at any time, john@falkirkdaft.co.uk. Right, Josh, thank you so much for being an absolutely brilliant substitute for the Mr. Wayne. He will be back next week, but you've been an absolute star, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Pleasure to be here.
There we go. And you've just got to one last task, Josh, before we let you go. You've got to utter those words.
Expect unexpected. I'm on the Bairns.
We're Falkirk Daft, we're Falkirk Daft, talking about the dark blues and having a bit of a laugh. We're Falkirk Daft, we're Falkirk Daft. You can listen in the pub or you can listen in the bath. We're Falkirk Daft, we're Falkirk Daft. For everyone who's caring about being a Falkirk Bairn, we're Falkirk Daft. We are Falkirk Daft.